You know that feeling of being swamped with busy work? It feels like we're just drowning in it. But what if I told you the real problem isn't the work itself, but all the time we spend waiting to do it? All those hours just lost in between tasks? Well, today we're going to dive into how AI hyperautomation can help you reclaim those lost hours for good.
And this slide, this really gets to the heart of it. On one hand, you've got this incredible promise, the potential to shrink a task that takes all week down to the length of a movie. But on the other hand, there's a huge trap, the very real danger of sinking weeks into automating the wrong thing, only to make things worse. Our job here is to show you how to get that promise while completely sidestepping those traps.
So, here's our game plan. First, we're going to bust the myth of the 5-day process. Then, we'll get clear on what makes hyperautomation so different. I'm going to walk you through a super important 3-layer framework for building systems that actually work, and we'll see it in action with a real-world example. Finally, we'll cover how to pick your first target and the exact steps you can take to get started.
Okay, first up, let's solve this little puzzle. What is the deal with this 5-day process? It sounds like a full week of work, right? Well, that name is actually hiding a massive opportunity for efficiency, if you just know where to look. This right here, this gets to the heart of the matter. We get so focused on the work that we completely miss the real culprit, the waiting. The real productivity killer is the downtime. The hours or even days, a task just sits in an inbox, waiting for a handoff, waiting for a review. That's the dead time that hyperautomation is perfectly built to eliminate. I mean, think about a simple process, something like onboarding a new client. As you can see here, the work might start on day 1, but then it just sits there in a queue. It moves to the next person on day 2 and waits again. A few hours of actual keyboard time end up getting stretched across an entire work week, all because of these waiting gaps between the moments of real work. So if we're going to target those gaps in between the work, we need a tool that's way more powerful than simple automation. Let's explore what makes hyperautomation so different and, frankly, so much more effective. Okay, this is the crucial difference. Regular automation is linear. One trigger, one action. A new form entry sends you an email. It's simple, it's useful, but it's limited. Hyperautomation, on the other hand, is a cascade. That same form entry kicks off a whole chain of events. It creates a personalized proposal using AI. It updates your sales CRM. It schedules a follow-up meeting, and it files all the documents, all without you lifting a finger. It's like one trigger that starts a massive domino effect.
So, to put a more formal definition on it, hyperautomation is all about chaining different tools together. You can almost think of it like a digital assembly line for your work, where each tool automatically hands the task off to the next one, with no need for a human manager to step in between. It's all about getting rid of those manual handoffs.
But building one of these things so it doesn't just fall apart requires a solid plan. And that's exactly where this 3-layer framework comes in. This is the blueprint for any successful and stable automation project.
See, every robust workflow has these 3 parts. First, you have to actively capture and organize the incoming data. Second, you use AI to process that data, to analyze it, summarize it, and help make decisions. And third, you have to reliably deliver the output, whether that's a finished document or an updated record for your team. If you miss any one of these layers, your whole system becomes fragile. And let's be really, really clear about layer 1, because this is where most people's automation dreams fall apart. You absolutely cannot automate chaos. If your data is just floating around in an email inbox, you're setting yourself up for failure. It needs to land in a structured place, like a spreadsheet, an Airtable base, or a CRM. And a CRM is just a fancy way of saying a customer relationship management tool. That structure is the foundation for everything else. All right, that's enough theory. Let's see how this 3-layer framework actually looks in the real world with a pretty powerful example, turning a 13-hour weekly chore into a 90-minute task. I mean, just look at that difference. We're not talking about a 10 or 20% improvement. This is a fundamental shift in how work gets done. It frees up over 11 hours every single week. This is that promise we saw at the beginning, but made real. So how do we get that number? Let's look at the real math behind it. Manually doing 40 invoices at 20 minutes each is over 13 hours of really tedious work. With hyperautomation, the AI does all the heavy lifting, and a person just needs about 2 minutes per invoice for a final check. That brings the total for the week down to 90 minutes. And it's important to be realistic here. As you can see, this took about 8 hours to build. but that's a one-time investment that pays off week after week after week. This brings us to probably the most important question. Where do you start? Picking the right first project is so critical for building momentum and, avoiding those disasters that can just derail your whole effort. The best targets are those tasks that make you sigh just thinking about them. They're high frequency, you do them all the time, and low variance, meaning the steps are pretty much always the same. Think about processing standard paperwork, transcribing meeting notes, or pulling together that routine weekly report. They're predictable, and predictability is exactly what automation thrives on. On the flip side, the worst targets are things that require deep human judgment, creativity, or emotional intelligence. One company tried to automate its complaint responses and ended up with a total PR disaster. You don't want an AI handling a delicate negotiation or managing a crisis. AI can definitely support these tasks, but it absolutely cannot lead them. Okay, so you've picked a good target. Awesome. Now, let's talk about how to actually build your first workflow in a way that's sustainable and truly effective. This timeline is so important for setting expectations. In your first month, you'll probably be slower. I know, it sounds weird, but you're learning the tools, you're building the system, you're fixing things. The real time savings don't really kick in until around month 3. But by month 6, you're in maintenance mode, saving 15 or more hours a week. It really is a strategic investment, not an overnight fix. And this quote just captures that mindset perfectly. Don't focus on some massive, immediate win. Focus on building systematically. The small gains you make each week start to compound, and in 6 months, you'll look back and be absolutely stunned at how much of your workload has been transformed. So, what can you do tomorrow? It's this simple. First, pick just one repetitive task from your week. Second, actually write down every single click, every copy and paste, map out the entire process. And third, build the absolute simplest version of it you can. One trigger, one action, and a place to store the result. That's it. Start small, prove the concept, and then you can build from there. And that leaves us with this final question. After seeing the potential and the clear path forward, I want you to think about your own week. Think about all those tedious, repetitive tasks that just drain your energy. What is the one task you will choose to reclaim first?